on to day 3 of our polymer activity, and we're going to get started, but before we do, I want to make sure everyone has their math notebook and pencil ready to go. When you're watching this video, the best way to learn along with the video is to pause. When I'm doing calculations or drawing a diagram or figuring something out, you should pause the video and do your own calculations. Then press play again and compare your work with my work. That's the best way to actually learn as you're watching the video. Alright, so let's continue on. So here we go with our line plot. We have this set of data here. And remember, we don't know what the data represents. We just have these numbers. And we have to organize them on our line plot. So the easiest way to get started is to look for your smallest value and your highest value. So in this case, it looks like 79, I think. I'm going to go ahead and use 79 as my lowest value. And it looks like my highest value is going to be 95. 95? Yes. Okay, so I've got 1 on 95 and 1 on 79. 92. Okay, so a lot of times what people have a hard time with is deciding how to spread out their intervals, like starting from the lowest value and going to the highest value and then spreading out everything else in between. So I would encourage you to kind of test it out a couple times. Oh, look, looks like I missed my highest value is actually 97. Test it out a couple times in case you make a mistake or you want to change something. Like right now I'm noticing, look at this. I have a 98 too, I didn't even notice. So if that's the case, if you start and then you realize like, oh, I missed one of my values and now I don't have space for it, then just kind of give yourself permission to start over. It's perfectly okay. Okay, so here we go, take 2. And for my second attempt, I'm going to choose my intervals going by 10s. So I'm going to have 70, 80, 90, and 100. I think that'll work better for me. So let me go ahead and mark 75, 85, 95, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's going to be so much better. Okay, 92, 1 there, 85, 97, 90, 79, 98. That's a squish. Okay, 95, 86, 93, 93, and 92. There we go. Got 2 92s. All right, there we go. Now, when you look at sets of data, sometimes you hear people talking about the range. The range is the lowest value to the highest value. So in this case, our lowest value goes from 79 to our highest value, which is 98. So that's our range between 79 and 98. And we don't have much of a mode. The mode is the most frequently occurring value. And in our case, our most frequently occurring value is, let's see, 91, 92. 92 is our mode because we have 2 occurrences of 92. All right, there we go. Those were some bonus vocabulary for you. All right, moving right along to some geometry. We're going to make some observations about this shape. I'm sure you guys know this word from 4th grade. Remember, a polygon is a shape that only has straight sides, and this shape obviously has a curved side, so we're going to say it is not a polygon. Saying what something is not is a perfectly good observation. It does have one right angle. It is a closed shape. And I guess that's about it. Okay, let's see. Oh, goody, volume. Volume. Now remember, volume is the inside space of a shape. And remember we talked about learning to kind of read these diagrams. This is the front face of our flat here. This is the side face, and this is the top face. So remember, each side in a three-dimensional figure, we call those all faces. So if you were to count the faces of this figure, we'd have to count the ones both that you can see in the picture and the ones that you can't see. So here we can see this top face, and we know there's a bottom as well. So that's 2 faces. And then there's the front, which is 3 faces, and 4, the back side, which you can't see. The right side, 5, and the left side, 6. Anyway, it doesn't ask about faces, it asks about volume, but I just got excited. So, tangent, sorry. Okay, let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3. We need to multiply side times side times side. The height is the last side, and that has a height of just 1. So we're going to multiply 5 times 3 times 1, which of course gives us 15 cubic units. If you don't have, oh, it says centimeters, never mind. I was going to say if you don't have a unit, if it doesn't specify, then just put units, but this actually does specify, so we'll put cubic centimeters, or you could also write it like this, cm to the 3rd power. This means cubic. Okay, moving right along. Daily fact family. These are like a little breath of fresh air because I tend to think they're kind of easy. Take your total. No, that's wrong. Gosh, you can tell it's evening. I'm getting sleepy. All right, we're going to do factor times factor equals our product. And then, of course, the commutative property tells us that we can flip-flop our factors. 7 times 6 will give us the same product. And then we're going to take our total, divide by one of our factors, and we're going to get our, what's the answer to a division problem? Do you guys remember? That's our quotient. So take your total, divide by the other factor, and you can get your answer, which is the quotient. Okay? So factor times factor, I can't resist making this into a vocabulary lesson. Factor times factor equals product. Those are our multiplication words. And when we're talking about division, we're going to say our dividend, which is our big number, divided by our divisor, the number we're dividing it by, equals your answer, which is the quotient. Okay, the vocabulary trip. More measurement, yay! Okay, so 2 feet equals how many inches? 2 feet, FT stands for feet, equals how many inches? Well, we know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So let's take our 12 inches, multiply it by our 2 feet, and that will give us 24 inches. Okay, now 60 inches divided by 12 inches in each foot equals 5 feet. And that's it, folks.